Hey everyone, I'm Devin, your friendly neighborhood board gamer, and this is Devin Talks Tabletop, the YouTube channel where the games are made up. What I say doesn't matter. And today I wanted to come to you with some first impressions of Uncharted Stars. Now, this is a print and play game designed by Scott Almes and illustrated wonderfully by Tristan Rossum. This, as I mentioned, is print and play, but I really like Scott Almes' designs. I've played quite a few of his more solo-minded games, and this is a delightful solo or competitive game that you're playing alongside other people. I will give you a little bit of a description as to how this plays. So in front of me I have two player sheets. These are, if you're playing with multiple people, everybody needs their own copy of each of these sheets. It shows the amount of rounds that you'll play, 18, and then over here you have your ship name, and then you have your crew and the ship that you can continue to build up and improve both of those things. And then you also have kind of the star chart where you're going to be using the target locations to perform space or deep space actions on every single round. I'm just getting to the point sometimes where I'm talking too much and I need to stop. But Uncharted Stars is an interesting game where when you start the game, you feel like you're doing nothing. And when you end the game, you're doing an insane amount of things. And so there really is a ramp up, a progression of pace that happens over the course of this game. I will explain very quickly how to play. And I say very quickly, it may not be very quickly. But I roll 3 dice, and I get a 2, a 3, and a 6. And from 3 dice, whenever you are rolling this, you have the options of using 2 of the dice to perform a space action, or using all 3 of the dice to perform a deep space action. And maybe instead of going to 3-6 or 3-6 there, maybe I want to go to 2 and 9 all the way out to here. That's possible via the deep space action where you use all 3 dice, but you do forfeit the opportunity to use one of these 3 dice to perform a ship action. So if I was going to show you a turn where you get to do both a space action and a ship action, I might pick the 3 and the 6. And at that point, I could go here and I could clear out this enemy ship, or I could go here to this empty space. Now, you might say, why do I want to go to an empty space? Well, when you're in an empty space, you can create a space station. And when you get to do that, that means that both it will count as points towards the end of the game, and then also it can potentially count as a warp spot if you ever unlock the navigator, which I'll explain in a moment. So in this regard, I might choose to take this empty space here at 3 in the column and 6 in the row and meet up at this intersection point to create a space station. Now, if you can see, there are numbered columns and numbered rows. If you ever clear every particular threat or unvisited thing outside of a column, you get a benefit. If you ever clear an entire row, you'll get end-game bonuses. And if you see these dotted lines that break up, those are sectors. If you ever explore, destroy, or deal with any particular thing in a sector, when it's all finished, that sector is going to give you a bonus, which you'll then fill out to be able to get other stuff. And in this particular game, it's a matter of trying to determine the best path of the dice that you've rolled, what particular space or deep space action you want to perform, and then maybe what ship actions you want to perform. So if I fill out this empty space here, I'd be using the 3 and the 6. I would draw in a space station there, which would help particularly get close to some of these locations. And then also it would allow me to use this 2 here for ship action. Now I can use this in 2 places. The crew, where I unlock particular crew, that is only available to me if I'm using a 5 or a 6, so I could have used that right here. But I also have to do it when I'm visiting a planet that matches that particular letter. So if I had rolled 3s and I had rolled a 3 and a 3, I could have visited this planet, M, which would have allowed me to unlock the mechanics officer if I had also on that turn spent a 5 or a 6. So that is what activates the crew. 5 or 6s allow you to hire officers. If you get a 3 or a 4, that allows you to build ship parts. That gives you thrusters, which means you can adjust the number of the dice, which is very useful for just slightly tweaking where you are to different locations. You can use it to build up your lasers, which allows you to shoot these ships from further away, as well as potentially shoot multiple ships with one location that you go to for your target location. And then you have your shields, which as you buff them up, allow you to go to level 1 asteroids, level 2 asteroids, and then eventually level 3 asteroids. Until you get your shields up, you cannot go to asteroids at all. So those are the 3 ship parts that you can build. And then you have this build robot action, which you can use any number of die to do that. So if I rolled a 2, I would mark off the 2 robot. If I rolled a 6, I would mark off the 6 robot. And what the robot allows you to do is a exploratory robot or a replacement robot. So if I ever don't like one of these dice, if I use a replacement robot action, I can mark off one of the 2 boxes that I have underneath a built robot to replace that dice with whatever this number is. Or I could do an exploration robot, and what that would allow me to do is I can actually, I was going to use my words. And then I forgot about it. I believe what it is that you can use it to gain a extra dice that you might be using for a deep space action, and then you can use that dice in a ship action as well. And then the one that I'm actually going to mentally use this 2 for in this example is I'm going to hire a red shirt. I'm going to actually hire 2 red shirts. You start the game with a red shirt, so we can just mentally have crossed that off, and I would get to activate 2 more. Red shirts let you essentially get a bonus turn in which you can use the same 3 dice that you just did to do an additional space or deep space action. And that means maybe if I've used that, I could actually do a 2 and a 6 and maybe go to a different spot, maybe right here, and then I can use the 3 as the ship, or I could do a deep space action and use the 2 and maybe this combined as a 9 to go to this spot right here. That's all of the different things that you can do on the ship, which as I mentioned, you can do as crew actions. So, I went to this 3/6 on the first turn, and as I mentioned, you don't get to do a lot in the early turns, but it does ramp up as you start to activate other things. A 5, a 6, and a 6. So that was a lot of stuff. So for example, on this turn, I could go to 6/6, which opens up this end planet, which means I've explored this planet, which is good. And then with the 5, I could hire an officer and immediately hire the navigator, which as a space action, I can use a space station as a warp gate. Which means if I ever roll 3 and 6 again, if I come down here to this particular space station that I built, I could actually go to any spot in the column or any spot in the row, which means the warp stations can allow you to actually go to deep space quite easily without you needing to sacrifice all 3 of your dice to do that. Because another thing that I could have done on this hypothetical turn, if I go back to where I was at, and when I had 5, 5, 6, I could go 5, 11 and go to this planet, which would be nice. And that planet has a D on it, which means I could explore it. And if I had a 5 robot available, I could use it to use or replicate an extra 5 and then hire the diplomat. And that's just the kind of way that you can really diversify or explore a little bit how you want to play the game. You can lean heavily into robots and red shirts and get bonus turns, or you could just try to be as efficient as possible with the dice that you've rolled to where you're slowly building up ship parts, slowly filling out different sections. You could be focusing on column and row bonuses. There's a lot of different things to think about in this game, and I did have a really good time with it. I played this on the airplane with Alex while we were traveling for work, and it was delightful. This fit well enough on a pull-out tray for the airplane, and we just kind of started the game, and we were both like, wow, we're not doing a lot right now. And then as the game progressed, we're like, okay, we're doing quite a bit more. And then by the end of it, it was just, there were turns where one of us would have a relatively straightforward turn, and the other one would just be chaining off activations. We'd be getting sector bonuses, which would chain off and give us something else. We'd be activating robots to give us a bonus, activation of our ship actions. Or we'd be using red shirts to take bonus actions with the same 3 dice again. And then we'd be getting, those subsequent turns would then give us some column bonuses. So then we would activate whatever those are. And then we would unlock some row bonuses to give us points for the end of the game. There are a lot of different ways to score. You get 1 point per visited planet. And then additionally, you get points per space station, as well as 2 points per space station in your biggest group. And then you also get 3 points per explored sector. So for every sector you have, that gives you 3 points. And then for every officer that you have, there's a matching amount of points that you'll get based off of the number of officers that you've hired. And then you also get your row bonuses, which go across and score there. A lot of different stuff will come up with your final score, and it's a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. It's one of those games that kind of slowly scales until you really feel like you're just uber powerful, which, maybe doesn't make as much sense in an exploratory Uncharted Stars kind of experience, but it does feel really good as a player to be able to get to do a lot of stuff on your turn if you've activated the right kind of chain of rewards and bonuses. All you need is 3d6, and you can print this and get playing. It's a print and play roll and mark off, or roll and write, from Scott Almes and Tristan Rossum. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I hope you have a good one. But until next time, I'm Devin. I'll see you later.